Today we're going to be talking about Securex, and my job is to cover the ground, make sure that we understand all the terms, right? So later on when you're doing the labs, you know what we're talking about and all the components about Securex. So we're all on the same page, right? After this is done. So what is Securex? $1 million question. So it is actually a platform that Cisco created to tie all the different Cisco solutions together, right? So it's a cloud native platform. Cloud native being, it's all containerized microservices, so it basically just scales automatically and transparently. So you never have to worry about that. But on the other side is that all the integrations that's happening in the back end actually create this platform experience for us, right? So today, all our biggest problems come from what the art of war says is, whatever you do, right? Basically, you have to know your enemy and you have to know yourself to be able to win the battle, right? So with all the different point products that, Cisco or all the other different vendors are introducing, it's getting harder and harder to know the whole landscape or, whatever that you have in your environment, right? So this platform actually ties all the Cisco Secure products together and give you unified visibility into your environment, right? So and give you a platform that all of your teams can work together to collaborate, right? So your SecOps, your NetOps, and your IT ops, and so what it does is to give you the visibility and tools to go and look at, detect any malware in your environment and be able to analyze how that happened, right? And do investigation and remediation, and manage the policies, right? And also, very importantly, is orchestration and automation. So we're going to cover all of that in the next 40 minutes. And of course, besides integrating with just Cisco's security products, it also integrates with your existing infrastructure, third-party tools, intelligence, identity, right, and also your existing SIEM and source solutions. So it's basically like a glue that ties all of these pieces together, and it's offered for free for all of the Cisco Secure customers. So lots of good things, right? So a lot of things that you can do on top of this. But just to call out all the big benefits, right? So like it simplifies your experience with security, right? So that fixed the number one problem, which is security is way too complex, right? And on the other side is give you unified visibility, like I mentioned, and also save you a ton of time for maximize your operations, right? So we got lots of tools that I need to cover. So like quick examples like single sign-on, right? So you can do single sign-on to all of your secure solutions. You don't have to log into each of the portals. And also, like the ribbon is really important, and dashboard itself. But what I want to cover first really is the threat response piece of this. So this was used to be called CTR, right? So now we get integrated into Securex, and it's the place where we use Securex to do threat hunting, right, and to do investigation, and also to be able to respond to all the different threats across the board. Doesn't matter what platform we see that from, and doesn't matter where we're trying to mitigate that issue, right? So it ties all of the pieces together. And also orchestration, we're going to cover later. But so far, any question? Okay, so with that said, threat response really give us the ability to deal with any kind of threat, right? So not just things that is already happening, right? So if there's a threat that you already see, you got an alert and you need to look into it, right? Or maybe just a simple question from your team or from your CIO, your CISO, or anyone that asks you some question, right? So like, for example, like on a day-to-day basis, if your CEO come to you and say, hey, what do we know about loader rat? What do we know about the threat? Well, maybe my answer is I don't know, right? I wonder how Chuck knows about loader rat, right? So we get these kind of questions, every now and then, right? So on a day-to-day basis. So knowing what it is impossible because the threat landscape is so huge, right? So what I do is I basically ask my good friend, right? So I ask Google, what is loader rat? And of course, the first thing that pops up would be Talos, and of course we have a blog on it, right? So which is helpful, right? So it basically covers all the backgrounds about this malware and what explains what is LODA and what is a rat, right? So it's a remote access Trojan. Oh, nice, right? So and it got all the good backgrounds about LODA, and it got all the campaigns that's happening, all the history data, and it talks about the infection chain and how do you spot it, all of the good details, so you can quickly respond to questions like this, right? Yeah, we do know about this, right? So we do know about this malware. So that's really helpful. But of course, a lot of time we'll get harder questions. Like, for example, have we seen this in our environment? Like, how do we know, right? So how do we know whether this malware actually existed in our environment? It's very hard to answer these kind of questions, right? So first you have to know how do you spot this malware? And second, was there any target that's identified in your environment, right? So luckily, Talos has all that information, right? So if you look at the bottom of all of these different articles, you will see that where do we spot this malware, right? So what solutions can help us identify it? And also what we call IOCs, an indicator of compromises, at the end of these articles that give you URLs that this malware uses, right? And some SHA-255 values that ties to the malware, the file of the malware, and also the C2, like that the malware used to call to do command and control, and other stuff, right? So like email samples and whatnot, right? So all of these ties to the IOC, which is what you can use to spot whether you have any indication of compromise in your environment. And this usually takes a long time, right? So because you have a lot of products, right? And you have to look into, let's say, for example, the URL. I might have to look into the firewall to look at whether I've seen any blocks or any access of this URL. And then if the firewall doesn't know, maybe we need to check like a web proxy, or if it's a file, then we have to look at the endpoints, or or AMP in the firewall or somewhere. So, a lot of places that you have to look into to be able to draw a complete picture of your environment and whether there's any IOC identified anywhere, right? So it takes a long time and a lot of pivoting through the products. So, and just to take all of these IOCs is going to take a bit of time because you have to copy them and paste them in, even if you have a theme, right? So it basically, collect all the logs so you can do searches, but still it doesn't tie all the whole picture together, right? So what we have today is Securex, which is, has a browser plugin. So you can do a lot of things just on this plugin, right? So one thing I want to call out first is that the plugin actually has a built-in tool that can identify all of the observables in any of the web pages. Doesn't have to be Talos web page. It can be your theme, or it could be anywhere on Google or anywhere that you're browsing. It will pull out all the different observables, right? Like it's doing right now, and show you which of them are malicious, known malicious, and which of them are suspicious, right? And which of them are unknown, and which of them are clean. And also you can simply just filter through them, right? So I say I want to be looking at all of the malicious, suspicious, and unknown ones. And as you notice on, next to all of these observables, you get, an icon that shows this is a malicious domain. And what you can do here, I just want to quickly show you, is that you can click on it, and that opens a what we call a pivot menu that has all the options available to you. So you can drill down into the thread right away, or you can take some quick actions. Like I want to be able to block this on Umbrella, right? And I want to be able to submit this URL to ThreatGrid, and one click you can block it or unblock it if you need to, right? So it's just quick actions that we can do right away, and we'll tell you it's successful, right? So these things we can quickly do to mitigate a threat right away. But on the other side, like if I want to look deeper into this, right, because I want to know whether I have any sightings of these IOCs in my environment, you can click on that investigate button. This takes you to threat response, which is what we're trying to cover right now. And what it does is basically it takes all of these IOCs and run it against all the security products that we have integrated, including third party. And we will look at whether there's any any of these IOCs has been seen anywhere. And if it was seen, it actually automatically draws the relationship between the different IOCs and show you a whole picture of how that got into your environment and where have you seen it, right? So is there any sightings in your local environment, any sighting globally that's been seen, right? So you can see all of that with this one single interface. And it draws all the relationships between them, right? So it basically tell you the whole picture about that, how that happened in your environment. So on the top, you see targets, right? So 0 targets means I don't see any of these malicious IOCs in my environment, which is great. And how many of them were we investigating, right? So that came from that tool, that plugin. And how many of are the related, artifacts that we might be using, and also the indicators, right? So where do we see those being shared out there, and including Talos, right? So the article that we were just looking at, and how many modules. This is very important because the more modules you have integrated, the more visibility you can gain across your environment, right? So this is one quick example, but you can also take snapshots of what you're doing, and you can save it. Like one snapshot here is actually, what I was doing earlier is it actually give you the whole picture of what's going on. Like here, unfortunately, we do have some sightings of this malicious file, and it give you the whole picture of how that happened, right? And let's say, for example, this malicious file, we do have sightings in our environment, and where have we seen it, right? So AMP file reputation and AMP global intelligence. And it also draws the picture of how this actually got access to your environment, right? So as you can see very clearly, we can show you this came from email. And these are the message IDs. And the email was actually saying it's coronavirus cure.pdf. It has this attachment, right? And it's sent to these target emails. These folks were getting the email, and then this malware got dropped into their environment, and it started propagating itself to the other endpoints, right? And it runs this file, it pulls this file, and it runs by utilizing PowerShell and iExplorer. It drops another malicious file, which goes and propagates itself through to the other endpoints, right? So it basically tells you the whole picture, it piece everything together, so you don't have to go into all of these different dashboards just to find out what's going on, right? So in the past, we see this, taking probably up to hours, right? So at least, I'd say like half an hour to just piece all of this together. And also then you have to go and remediate this situation, right? So you have to take actions on all of those different platforms. That's going to take a lot of time. And as I showed you, that pivot menu just allow you to take quick action right away. It doesn't matter where you are, right? So this dramatically reduced the amount of time that we need to spend on all of these different investigations and remediations, right? So like that relationship map just give us all the relationships of all these different IOCs and tell us where they were found, right? And just this one single view can tell you the whole story behind this. And also it give you a quick way to remediate, like I showed you, that pivot menu. And also I'm going to talk about some orchestration later on to allow you to take some quick actions within minutes and be able to respond to any sort of threat, right? So I'm going to pause here. Any questions so far, folks? Okay, good. So, um, like I said, this reduced the amount of effort that you have to spend on these investigations and remediations for up to 85%. And lots of things that you can do here, right? So with just one single click, visualize the whole thing, right? And you can query for everything that's happening in your environment, and you can quickly isolate hosts that's infected, right? You can block files and you can block URLs, domains, like I showed you a while ago. So lots of actions that you can take right away. And with that said, this is in a nutshell what threat response is providing to us, right? So, but Securex is way more than this. So one thing is, the dashboard itself. It does a lot of integration with your existing solutions, right? And whether it's Cisco or not, but it's very easy to integrate with new solutions. And also, we've got a lot of documentation that talks about how to integrate with a solution, whether it's Cisco or third party, and we got a lot of videos that guide you through that, right? So when you look at Securex, you can see that this dashboard basically unifies information from all the platforms. As you can see, my Securex, I got secure cloud analytics, which is a StealthWatch cloud, and I got email security. I got lots of other solutions. So basically, it gives you visibility into all of these different products, right? So what are the threats that's coming from? Give you an overall view, and this is customizable. And as you can see, I got multiple dashboards, right? So different teams can focus on different things. Like your NetOps might be interested in more networking related stuff, and security is more security, and maybe systems team or your SOC or any other team that can have their own focused view of information, and you can easily arrange what you want to see on the dashboard. And all of these are movable, right? So you can move them around and you can resize them very easily. So this is your first view once you log into Securex, right? And it also ties all the integrations together on the left, as you can see all the different applications, all your existing integrations, and all the third-party integrations that can be done at the bottom, right? So lots of things that you can do just right from here. But we also have a dedicated view for just integrations, right? So this is look a little different now. So it's got a lifted view of this. And a good thing is that here you can see a list of all the different integrations that you can do, and you can just easily click on it and start integrating. And it gives you also a view of what you already have integrated, and also give you the status, which is really helpful, right? So if you have any module that is the integration is not working, it call it out right away. It says there's an error with that integration, right? And you can modify your integrations as well. So in the videos, there's actually one of the challenge from one of our TMEs that challenge you whether you can do an integration within 5 minutes, which is very easy actually. Like if you can blow something away, right? So like show them this module, I could just delete it, right? So it's just gone. And then I can look into the available integration modules and maybe find this guy again. And I can just do that integration again within a few clicks. So let's see if we could find it, like shown right here. So I just click add, right? So and give it a name and click save, and as easy as that, right? So and then now it's configured. How much time did it take me? Like 30 seconds or something, right? So there are some other modules that requires that you to key in the API keys, right? So that might take a little bit longer, but the integration experience should be fairly simplistic. So that is all about integration. Any questions so far? Okay, awesome. And then one more piece I want to cover is orchestration. This is a very powerful tool. So what it does is, in the past, if you remember, right? So if you're work in a SOC team or any ops teams, you define playbooks, right, to do actions, right? So what if this, and what do we do, right? And what if this, what do we do? So of course, there are a lot of repetitive work that we have to perform, right? So like say, for example, this email sample, I want to be able to take out all the URLs and take out all the SHA-1, for all the attachments, right? So you want to do all of these automatically, so you don't have to do it manually because it's repetitive, it's boring, right? And it consumes a lot of time. So that's why a lot of organizations are taking this approach to automate things, right? So I want to be able to automate a task so that I don't have to click through the whole thing, right? So lots of tools out there that can help us with it, right? So you might have the same experience in the past that you have a very smart guy in your team that's good at coding and create this whole bunch of code that does a lot of automation, but over time it gets broken, and maybe this guy left the team and nobody's maintaining it, right? So it's very hard to maintain something like that, right, without documentation, without a tool to visualize what you actually have done, and a tool to help you modify the process, right? So that's why we have this orchestration and automation portion of Securex to help you visualizing what you're actually automating and be able to create a workflow of all the different tasks and reuse those tasks everywhere else, right? So and you can simply just adjust on this orchestration tool to be able to show all the things that you can do and also tie them together into a workflow and dramatically reduce your time that you have to spend on all of these nitty-gritty repetitive tasks, right? So that's all it has to do. And to show you examples, orchestration, you don't have to know any programming, right? So let's say, for example, one example is if I want to be able to isolate a host, and I want to get tier 2 approval before I do that, right? So this is a very simple flow, and you can draw out this flow yourself. With drag and drop, you can drop any new stuff into this flow, and you can adjust the logics within, right? So a lot of things that you can do, and you can use already built workflows as atomics that you can just grab and use it here, right? So those atomics are some little tasks that you package into one workflow where you could be used anywhere else, right? So all of these things you can do in all the logics, right? So all the adjustments that you can do, like if I want to say with this access token thing, and now the format of the token is changed, I want to quickly change that. You can just quickly go here and you can specify what is the new format of the token, so you don't have to go through the code and read through it, right? So it's just give you this very simple interface where you can just interact with this workflow. And we got lots of things that's integrated for you, right? So if you were using things like Ansible, right? If you need to integrate with AWS, you want to do integration with Cisco solutions or third-party solutions, or if you want to do like I want to integrate with my existing database, I want to be sending emails like this, right? I want to be sending an email to a team I want to look for approvals, right? So you can use that email portion. You can easily send email, right? And things like file operation and integrate with all the different clouds that's out there, and also all the different identities that, like, say, Microsoft, Azure, right? And also your existing tools like ServiceNow to look at your assets, right? And create tickets, right? And also lots of things like Terraform and web services, right? So a lot of things that you can integrate from right here. So, and also, one thing I want to call out is you don't really have to create all of these, because if you look at my workflows, a lot of these are already pre-created, right? So you can basically just import them. So Cisco actually has a Git repository for all the different workflows that we create, and look at all the different workflows that we already created for you, right? So this is the place that you go to download and to basically one click, right? So I want to get Azure AD users. One click of choose the version, and bam, there you go. Click import, and there you go. That just get imported into your workflows, right? So this one, because I don't have a required Atom is depending on, so I have to import that first, right? So, but you get the point. How easy it is to import workflows, and you can create your workflow as well, right? So, a quick example of a workflow that I created. This is very easy to read, I promise, right? So basically what we do is I take the date and I notify whatever that I see from here, right? So the observables that I see here, I want to be able to notify myself on WebEx Teams. Very simple workflow. And and then all you need to do is to map it to a this workflow to a category. Like if I map it to response category, then in that case, while I'm doing the threat response, right? So if I'm looking at a malware, and you will see that doesn't matter what you look at, you can see that you can take quick actions from right here, right? And let's say, for example, if I want to look at any of these malwares, right? So I want to be able to take a quick action. I can say I want to investigate this, right? And I want to take a forensic snapshot and isolate this host. And also you see that the one that I defined from right here, notify me. And once you click on it, so it says success, but what it does really is it pings me for the observable that I just showed you, right? So it's very easy workflow that I created, right? So and then whenever you run into issue with a workflow, you can easily troubleshoot from right here. That shows you all the workflows that you have run. When I click on this, I can say notify me, right? So it shows all the times that it has ran and whether it was successful, and you can drill into the details of the output of each step, right? So you can see the JSON output, and you can see whether it was successful. If it wasn't successful, you will be able to see the error code from right here. So you will be able to walk through all of this yourself in a second, right? So in the following sections, but just want to show you quickly, how you tie these different orchestration workflows with your day-to-day operations, right? And if there's any issue, how do you troubleshoot? So, in a nutshell, this is just to show you the benefit of orchestration, right? Of course, you can define very complex situations, right? Like what this example is trying to show you is, you can do a lot of complex workflows, and you don't have to go through this on a day-to-day basis. Basically, you simplify all these different steps into one click. You just do one click, and then the system itself will finish all of these steps for you and give you the output, right? So that saves you a lot of time from doing all of these manually. And like I mentioned, there's so many different workflows that's already defined by Cisco, and all you need to do is import them, right? And if you have your own workflow created, you can also create your own GitHub deposit, right? Or other deposits to keep those workflows and maybe to share with other teams and share with the whole Cisco security ecosystem if you want to, right? So all of those things that you can do. And another thing is we actually announce these orchestration workflows very often, right? So basically, if you want to tap into all the announcements, you can join this room, and whenever a new workflow is created, you get notified, right? And you can go and download it if you think that's helpful, right? So and also before I let you go, one more thing that I want to talk about is I did talk about this plugin, right? So basically, it just follows you, with your browser wherever you go. You can use the plugin to quickly call all of the different products, right? You can launch them, and let's say, for example, I want to launch CDO from here. That just takes you through because I'm timed out, but you can see the logging experience through this as well, right? So basically, Securex takes care of all the logins for you, so you don't have to key in passwords and whatnot. And another thing is, whenever you're working on a investigation, you can collect all the all the IOCs that you see in these what we call case books, right? So these case books actually tracks all the different observables, and you can take notes here, right? And you can share this, and you can link this to an incident. So basically, and also you can quickly go into a threat response like I showed you, right? So that investigation that I showed you. And also, once you link this to an incident, basically this integrates with kind of like a case system, right? So if you have an incident, so first of all, you can see where that incident come from, right? So who created it? I created this manually, but there could be like a lot of automated instance, right? Like say for example, if your secure analytics saw an alert, it can create an incident automatically on this list, right? And it will give you all the details about this incident and the timelines. When was this created? When was this modified? And all the sightings in your environment. And then what's also very helpful is that you can assign this to one of your team members, right? So right now I assign it to myself, but you can assign it to someone else. And if at any time if I get an assignment, I will get a notification from here, right? So and then I can dive in and look into it. And you can also share all your snapshots, like I was showing you, right? So all of these different snapshots, you can quickly take a snapshot at where you are right now, right? So I modify this picture, and everything's modified, and I want to be able to keep this, right, as if I never left. So you can quickly take a snapshot, and you can also associate this to an incident and assign this to other people to take over and look at this, right? So lots of things that we built into this kind of like a tool belt that just walks with you, right, and follows you wherever you go. So this whole experience also, we are providing it through this what we call a ribbon. So when you hear us talking about ribbon, this is what we mean. So it's basically the same components that you see in that browser plugin that I just showed you, right? Same functions. And if you look at it, so all the things that I was showing you actually follows me. So I was looking at this incident from here, from the plugin, right? I could look at it from somewhere else. But once I come back to the ribbon, I will see the same incident that I'm looking at, right? The same sightings I'm looking at, the same reference I'm looking at, right? And if I go to a different product, right? So let's say, for example, CDO, and I want to bring up the same Securex plugin here, I will see the same thing as if this just basically follows me wherever I go. So it's kind of like your tool belt, wherever you walk to, all the tools follows you, and the same context as well. So this is very powerful, right? So you don't have to go back and forth, and this takes the whole the whole context with you wherever you go to, right? So this is very useful. And also on the other side is you can do very quick orbital queries from right here, right, to look at all your different hosts, and you can run live queries and get response from those hosts. And like I was showing you, find all the observables on the page, right? And you can do settings of Securex ribbons over here. And once you change one thing, it will automatically change on all the other platforms. So lots of useful features on the ribbon itself. So this basically covers all the different major components. Of course, there are new stuff that's coming out, like the device insights and everything else. Lots of new tools that we're adding to Securex, right? So, but today, all we need to worry about is all the components that that I walk you through, and all the terms when we're doing this, going through this whole training. We're sharing the same terms, right? So if there's one term or one technology that you heard and you didn't know about it, feel free to ask, and feel free to ping me throughout the session if you want to clarify on anything. So that covers my session, and we have 5 minutes for questions if you have any.